Well, thank you, Katil, and good morning, everybody. We're gonna start off with Pokemon Gold. We've had some startup issues, so the colors, I think they're slightly off on screen, but we're just gonna go with it. Like I said, startup issues, we'll get them fixed. It's a marathon. What's a marathon without tech issues, right? I'm gonna do my settings, and in the meantime, I'm gonna ask the host to give me the trainer name. Get that one ready. So, do you have it up?
Yes.
Okay, in that case, I'm going to just do a countdown, get it ready, and I'll ask for it in a moment.
Okay.
Starting in 3, 2, 1, go. So, welcome to Pokemon Gold. First things first, we're going to set the time to 3 a.m. Very important. I mean, it's still early, right? Might as well be. And then we're going to set ourselves the trainer name.
Trainer name is Oh No I.
Just all in one?
No, with O space no space I.
Okay. O as in OH?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay. So, first things first, we're going to get to name ourselves here. Oh, no. There we go. So, welcome to Pokemon Gold, where we're going to do any % no save corruption. NSC stands for no save corruption, meaning we can go through the game using any glitches we want, save for one particular glitch that would make us be able to beat the game in like 15 minutes, and it's rather boring, and we don't really care about that. Oh no, I received the Pokegear. I see what they did there. This is gonna happen a lot, isn't it? So we're gonna set the day to Sunday. That's very important because we want to be able to get return later on to set up our glitch. Essentially, how this run's gonna work is we're gonna run to the coin case, basically glitchless. On the way, we're gonna try to see a Bellsprout or a Machop, and we're gonna try and catch a Wooper. And then once we get to the coin case, we start kind of just completely breaking the game. Before we get to do that, we do want to get ourselves our first Pokemon, a Totodile. So if I may have the Totodile name, please.
The Totodile name is Dill. D-I-L-L-E.
Wait, B-I-L-L-E.
No, with a D, like the herb. Dill.
Okay. I'm gonna just spell it out. Please do keep an eye on it for me to make sure I spell it correctly. E?
No, with an E.
Like that?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, cool. So, not every Totodile is runnable, which is why I saved in front of it, just to make sure that if we get a really bad one, we can just try again. And we'll see how this one holds up. I'm not too picky with my stats here, and that is just fine. My speed is pretty bad, which is going to come into play later on, as I'll be taking a few extra fights to kind of mitigate that. But every other stat is pretty decent, so I can accept this. Essentially what we're looking for is we want a minimum of 12 attack, and that's the really important one, as 12 attack essentially means we're strong enough to be able to kill the things we need to kill. We want 12 on defense, ideally, because it makes the early game a little bit easier. And since we're not really going to play much beyond the early game, it kind of works out nicely that way. And then lastly, ideally, we don't want to have terrible special. Even if it is really bad in this particular category, it doesn't matter much. And the same goes with speed. Ideally, we wouldn't want it. In this case, it kind of is bad, but we can make it work. It just means that I have to take an extra trainer or two here and there to make sure we get some extra experience. So with that out of the way, we're going to make our way to Mr. Pokemon to get ourselves a Pokédex. And on the way, we just want to get as few encounters as possible. So far, this is our first one, so we're off to a really good start here. We're not going to really kill anything. Because of our bad speed, if we run into a level 4 rat, we might not be able to run. So we'll see how it works out, but so far so good. We're going to talk to the professor here at Mr. Pokemon. He's going to talk about, you know, an egg that he's discovered. And the professor is then going to give us the Pokédex. And this kind of triggers, or it triggers a scene with the professor, Professor Elm, which once we've then visited him again, we finally get access to the actual first route with trainers to get to the first gym, which is where we want to go. For this particular category, we're only going to be facing 2 gym leaders. We're only going to do Faulkner and Bugsy, because before we get to Whitney, we're already going to start breaking the game apart, and we're going to basically beat it by that point. Now, aside from that, okay, sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. So yeah, aside from that, most of it we're just... Like, that part we're just going to do glitchless. There's really not much to it. Normally, we would be trying to get a cut slave early on, which is why we would kind of want it to be daytime, because then Centrets can show up. But since we're only going to play such a short part of the game, we don't really need one, as we can just teach cut to Totodile. By that point, there's only 1 trainer fight left, so it doesn't really matter anymore. Now, the run itself really only has, like, 2 or 3 actually difficult fights, so overall we shouldn't have too much trouble making our way through it. And, well, with that, I guess we're gonna start one of the more annoying fights. This one isn't particularly difficult, but it's just an annoyance mostly. This is our first rival fight. Right now he's named question mark, and we're gonna actually get to name him in a little bit, so we're gonna cut off the incentive after we beat this trainer. I'm going to start off with Leer to drop its defense. He started with Tackle, which is actually kind of good, especially if he doesn't use Growl. Because of our bad speed, the Chikorita is always going to be outspeeding us, so that makes this fight a little bit more dangerous than usual. Usually you'd be in a speed tie, so it'd be a coin flip whether you outspeed Chikorita or it outspeeds me. But so far so good, we should have the win here. Nice, there we go. So with that, we're going to be cutting off the rival name here. Feel free to do a last refresh if you still need to or want to, or I don't know. We're still a little bit out from actually naming him. Okay, so here we go, off to getting ourselves to the Professor. And the Professor called us about a thief that has stolen one of his Pokemon. And we just happened to have run into said thief. He just fought us. He stole a Chikorita. And there will be a police officer who's going to ask us if we happen to know more. And initially, he thinks we're the thief. But then we tell him, you know, we ran into him, and it's this and this guy. So, what's his name?
The BSG classic, my dude.
Fair enough. So, now that we've named the rival, it's time for us to talk to the professor about this grand discovery, a Pokemon egg. See, Generation 2 Pokemon was the first where they introduced the breeding mechanic and as a result eggs. And this is kind of how they introduced that particular new mechanic here, by just making it out to be this big new discovery. We're also going to get some Pokeballs here, which is kind of convenient. Nice for our quest, so to speak. And we're only gonna catch 1 Pokemon, so we should be fine. Moving on. Normally you're supposed to kind of just go and talk to Mom, but she'll call us later if we haven't, so we're not gonna bother. And then there's the catching tutorial, which we're just gonna skip. We already know how to catch Pokemon. I mean, we're gonna try to beat this entire game in about an hour, so we should probably know how to catch Pokemon. Now by this point, running will be a little bit easier because we've already leveled once, so our speed is a little bit up. But still, we kind of just want to run into as few encounters as possible. Every encounter loses about 10 seconds, so if you like a run with 5 encounters versus a run with only 2, would just be an instant 30-second time save, and it's completely RNG whether you can get something like that or not. We're going to get a berry for safety. Over the course of this, we don't want to visit centers much. There's really only one stop at a Pokemon Center, maybe two, depending on how things go. So I want to get some heal items along the way to make sure that we don't have to visit that much. We're getting pretty lucky with these encounters, which is kind of nice. And over here, we're going to have the first actual trainer. Now, on every trainer fight, I'm looking at my stats every time that I level. Every stat has a value assigned to it between 0 and 15. 0 meaning really bad and 15 meaning really good. They're called DVs. And every time we level, we get some more information about our DVs. The way that it's looking is our attack is somewhere between 6 and 10, which is average. Defense is about the same. Our speed is definitely lower than 6, so that's pretty bad. And our special is in that mid-range somewhere as well. And I hope to get a little bit more information about it here. Now, depending on if I get either 15 or 16 attack on the level up here, it'll tell me whether it's on the higher or lower end of it. Although usually, like almost always, you're going to see 15 here. So let's see what we get. Okay, 15. We actually have pretty decent special. It's on the higher end of that, so it's probably 9 or 10, I want to say. So we're going to just go through this route, and in a little bit, we're going to see a spinner. It's the first of many. And spinners are trainers that just kind of face in a random direction. There is a way to kind of increase the odds of dodging them, though. If a spinner is facing left, he's more likely to look up and vice versa. If he's looking right, he's more likely to look down and vice versa. And we use that knowledge to increase our odds of dodging him. Oh, wait. I said yes there, so I have to call back Mom. That's on me. So we want to make sure that Mom doesn't save our money. Because we kind of need that money later on. So now we've said no, so we can actually move on. And we dodged him. So I guess while we make our way to the gym, Kate Hill, if you have anything to say.
Well, we do have one donation. Let me just pull it up real quick. We have a €10 donation from Ross saying, "Oh no, I donated towards any % honking." So I guess we're gonna see more honks today. Honk! Do I have a few more seconds?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, then it's maybe a nice thing to tell, like, who we are, what we do. We are the Benelux Speedrunner Gathering. We organize bi-monthly gatherings in the Benelux for speedrunners. We're currently streaming our bi-monthly event in the esports game arena in Alphen aan den Rijn. We're raising money for the Dutch Cancer Society, which is a nationwide organization committed to fight cancer while aiming for more cure and a higher quality of life for those already battling the disease. All of your donations will go to the Dutch Cancer Society.
Okay, before I go into this next fight, Kinnan, if you have a moment, could you turn host down for me a bit? She's rather loud. No offense. In any case, we just saved the game and we gave my Totodile a berry here. Since this Spearow is actually kind of dangerous, this fight normally isn't too difficult, but it does really show why we take Totodile over any other Pokemon. See, Totodile gets access to the move called Rage, and Rage starts out as a really weak move, but every time we get hit, it doubles in power. So where it starts off really weak, it becomes very strong very quickly. However, because of how much damage this Spearow deals, we can't actually just beat him like that. We do actually need a little bit of extra health, otherwise there's a decent chance that he'll kill me, which is why we gave a berry. Basically what a berry does is, as soon as we get below half HP, it triggers, and that heals me for 10 HP, which is a nice bit of safety to have there. The rest of the fights in this gym are pretty straightforward. Because of our bad speed, we are going to have a little bit of a harder time than we normally would, but luckily our defenses are decent, so we should be able to manage to get through these pretty easily. This second trainer here is always a bit of a finicky one. Depending on your speed stat, you're either going to be faster, which is the ideal situation, slower, which is still kind of fine, but usually more of an annoyance than anything else, or you're going to be as fast as these Pidgeys, and it's a coin flip. Ideally, we want to be faster, but with our bad speed stat, that's really not going to happen. So we're going to use Rage on these. We're going to build up power, but we're going to take a lot of damage in the process here. Every hit dealing 5 damage means it's going to hurt. I mean, we're going to get down all the way to like 7 HP. We will level, and once we level, the Pidgeys will only start dealing 3 damage, so we should be able to survive no problem. But it still makes it feel like a very dangerous fight, even though it really isn't. So there we go. You can see how much damage Rage does now, and at this point it is a coin flip whether we kill or not. A critical tackle does 5, so we wouldn't have been able to die there, even if he got a crit off. But with bad speed and low HP, which, I mean, ours is kind of average, but with the combination of that, it's still about a coin flip whether or not you actually get through it, just because if he crits twice, it becomes a problem. So I'm going to have to use both heal items here. This next fight is a little bit more dangerous than usual because of lower speed stats and whatnot. We're just going to make it work. As a result, I am going to take a little bit of a safety save here. Might as well, because if we were to die, we'd be set back all the way to basically the first town with a Pokemon Center. So getting back here would take quite a while. So this is Faulkner, the first gym leader of the game, master of a flying type Pokemon, and pretty straightforward fight. He leads a level 7 Pidgey, similar to the ones before. So again, we can just start using Rage. It's a coin flip whether we outspeed or not. In the first round, we didn't, meaning that the miss was actually kind of positive for us. Means we don't take as much damage. We actually, after that, kind of want to outspeed for it to build as much power as possible. So here he builds my power twice, which is really useful. We kill off the Pidgey, and now the Pidgeotto should be an easy 2-shot. It's looking like our speed is really bad, though, so that's a little bit concerning. I'm going to have to take a few extra trainer fights later because of that bad speed. If I don't, I'm going to be slower than the rival's Bayleaf, and that means that the rival's Bayleaf is always going to get at least one extra hit off, which makes that fight really dangerous. By taking an extra level up, I usually can make sure that I'm either faster or at least a speed tie, which increases the odds of success on that fight significantly. So now that we have the badge, we're going to make our way to the Pokemon Center, and as we head out of the gym, we're going to get a call from Professor Elm. He wants us to do some research on that egg, because he hasn't really been able to figure it out. Now, the idea here is, again, the game kind of wants to introduce you to eggs, and basically what happens is as long as you bring it along with you, eventually it'll hatch. It's step-based. But we don't really care. We're going to have beaten the game by the time that the egg would hatch, so not a problem there. In a glitchless run, you actually usually drop off the egg in the box at some point, because it's faster to drop it off at the box than it is to watch the hatching animation. So before we get it, we're going to get a heal here. This is one of the only times that we use the Pokemon Center, and we do it before picking up the egg just because we then only have one Pokemon, so fewer Pokeballs show up on the counter there, which saves, I think, like half a second or something, maybe a second. It's not much, but it still counts. So we get the egg, and then it's on to the next route. And this next route has there's a lot of differences between Gold and Crystal. The two runs are very similar, but especially on this next part, that's really where the differences shine. A lot of the trainers here in Crystal are in different positions than they are in Gold. And the very first trainer, which can theoretically beat you, it's super rare, so we're not going to bother really taking any safeties for it. But this first trainer is actually completely optional in Crystal, whereas it's absolutely required in Gold. On the way, we want to find a Wooper. That's very important. And we need to see a Bellsprout. And there is our Bellsprout. That's the first of two we need to see. For Bellsprout, I only need the Dex entry. That's in order to trigger the glitch later. And the Wooper we need to catch. So that one we absolutely have to get. If I wouldn't have gotten the Bellsprout, there would have been a backup later with an extra trainer that would have shown me a Machop, which also works. So here we go. We're going to make our way through this fight. The Rattata is pretty straightforward. Just scratch twice. The second Pokemon is a Zubat, and Zubat has Supersonic, and Supersonic can be quite a dangerous move, unfortunately. Basically, what can happen here is if he does Supersonic, it has a 55% chance to hit me. Luckily, it didn't. If it then hits that Supersonic, it triggers my Bitterberry, we get healed instantly. If he then does another Supersonic and hits the 55% again, we'd be confused. And since it's a 3-shot, that can happen, and it can actually screw you over quite badly. Luckily, we didn't get to use it. And that's quite nice, because that means I might be able to go for a bit of a different strat from usual, which could make this next part significantly easier on me. And it's actually a strat that doesn't really lose much time either. I'm going to pick up a few items along the way. We're really hoping to see a Wooper here. Unfortunately, we did not, so we're going to actually have to grind out that Wooper. So while we do that, Katie, feel free to take over for a bit.
Okay, sure. It's also nice to mention that you can consider using your free monthly Twitch Prime subscription right here on the ESA channel. You will get access to both the ESA and the BSG emotes, and you get to support both of the events. Stay updated with our events by following us on Twitter and Instagram under the handle BSG Marathon. Get a behind-the-scenes look of the event and stay up to date with the latest news on our marathons, events, and more.
So I'm going to face this trainer, which is completely optional to do, but the advantage of facing this trainer is he has a Goldeen, and if we beat it, it gives us just about the amount of experience we need in order to hit level 13. The reason that is as helpful as it is because once we hit level 13, we get access to Water Gun, and there's 2 fights in particular where that comes into play. First off, there's the very first trainer, which is a Spinner, which you normally really don't want to hit, but by facing this trainer, we will actually have Water Gun, and it becomes a really easy source of experience for us. After that, there is another trainer which has 3 Geodudes, which is a required fight. Okay, we're going to have to hit through the confusion here. Really hope we can manage to do that. We did. Okay. Supersonic makes this a bit of a scary fight normally. But having Water Gun for that extra fight, or for the required fight, actually makes it so that the amount of time we spend on the Goldeen and the amount of time we save on the Geodude roughly even out. So now we just need to get that Wooper, and there is no way for me to continue without it, so this is where we're just going to have to get lucky. I think Wooper is like a 20% or something, or 25%. It's pretty likely to show up. And every time we don't get it, we lose an additional 10 to 15 seconds. So we really want one to show up here. Yeah, Katil, while we look for Wooper, I just have to grind this out, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I'll just pull my things up again. We would also like to thank the ESA for supporting the event and allowing us to stream on their channel. That's also really awesome. Thank you, ESA. That being said, the next run will be Faz, and if you want the runner to wear a Faz, then donate. I mean, it's cool. I see him sitting there with his Faz, and oh, it's our scheduler just told me it's in 2.5 hours, not the next run. Nonetheless, if you want to see him run with a Faz on, then please do donate. We're still we're still in need of quite a bit. We've got €5 out of €50 so far, so yeah, Faz for comparison. So go donate to that if you want to see him run with a Faz on. Okay, back to you, Crrool.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of Bellsprouts. Now, I really like Bellsprout, but I really want to see that Wooper here. So, unfortunately, there is no way for me to continue without the Wooper. Like I said, it's like 20 or 25 or 30%. It's really not that unlikely. So this is how it goes down, eh? Okay, now we still have to catch it. We're not done yet. We still have to catch it. So we're going to use Rage just to make sure that, you know, even if we were to crit, it wouldn't be too bad. I have 5 Pokeballs to throw at this thing, so... Okay, he's being nice to us and using Tail Whip, which means I can just do another Rage without it doing more damage. At least enough so I can get it below half. And we're going to start chucking our Pokeballs. So close, so close. Yeah, right now I can't really deal more damage without risking killing it, and since it took as much time as it did to even find it in the first place. Nice, we got him.
Do you have a second?
Sure.
We just got a €50 donation from Zorby saying Whooper luck, and that €50 just went toward the Fez run, so you're gonna be running with a Fez on.
Nice. Well, it did seem to work. We got ourselves the Whooper, so... And the Faz. So, this guy, he asked us if we want to buy a Slowpoke Till for $1 million. Oh, we don't have $1 million, so... No, I don't. I know, it's kind of unfortunate, but we don't, so... We're not going to buy the Slowpoke Tail. Interestingly enough, you can actually buy that same Slowpoke Tail later on for like 9.8k or something. So they go down in price quite a bit. Now this is that extra fight that I mentioned earlier, where we can opt to take an extra trainer here. And basically, this guy has an Onix, which normally would be a bit problematic, but since we have Water Gun now, I can just use that. I'm taking the extra fight just to get some more experience in, so that hopefully I can make it so that I'm 1 level higher than normal for the rival, and that 1 extra level will actually make that fight significantly easier, so quite helpful to do. This is the fight where I mentioned where taking the Goldeen, it loses some time, but it saves that time back here. This fight is required, and it normally takes about 9 turns to kill him. Now, with Water Gun, it's only going to take us 3, so it saves us a total of 6 turns, which is, you know, 6 times 8 seconds. It's quite a nifty little time save there. Now, interesting to note here, in Crystal, all of these trainers are optional. This guy is a spinner, but the trainer from before, the Onix trainer, that one isn't a spinner, it's just a stander you can pass. And there's another required trainer later that is also completely optional there. So with Crystal, you actually go through this cave a lot faster. The reason I still prefer to run Gold over Crystal, however, is that the glitch that we're going to use isn't actually possible in Crystal. In Crystal, the only way to beat the game fast is to do a form of safe corruption like that. So the entire run there is completely different. So we hit another spinner here. It's not ideal to hit him. I actually would have preferred passing him, but I don't mind it much. Again, the extra experience can be quite helpful. It does add into the safety, and it's kind of a case of we lose like a minute here, but hopefully it'll allow us to save 2 minutes later. So maybe not ideal, but it'll work out. The Onix unfortunately don't die, or sorry, the Coughings don't die in 1 hit with Water Gun, but they usually do go down in 2, regardless of whether or not I've gotten any extra experience. If we were to get a critical hit, we would be able to kill them in 1 hit, but that is unfortunately luck-based. Okay, so there's another level up, and we're going to move on to the last trainer here. But before we do, on the way, we want to pick up another item here. There is an X attack. Now, later on, in order to be able to set up the glitch, we need to get the TM Return. And Return only opens up if you have a Pokemon with a certain amount of happiness on it. So, as we go, we do gain some happiness, but we don't quite gain enough happiness to be able to get that right away. So we actually want to use some X items to increase the happiness of our main Pokemon, hopefully to the point that we'll be able to get Return. And that requires us using about 14 additional X items. This is the first one that we pick up, and then the rest we just buy in the store later. So this is the Fire Breather. He has a Vulpix. Unfortunately, the Vulpix doesn't go down to Water Gun unless you crit him. I think even with the extra level that we have, we still won't. He pretty much always survives. That's not a big deal though. We kind of expect not to one-shot it. You deal a good amount of damage, and as long as he doesn't burn, it's really not an issue. And with that, we're out of the cave, and we meet Hiker Anthony here. I'm going to save the game here, because this is quite an annoying fight. And there we go. I'm sorry, Zeta, for skipping you. We pick up an extra full heal here for safety. We probably won't need the full heal. Usually you don't. But Zeta is already calling this that I jinxed it, by the way. You guys can't hear that, but probably. That's probably what's going to happen. But we'll see how it works out. We're going to talk to Kurt here. He tells us that Team Rocket's been going on in the Slowpoke well, cutting off the tails of Slowpokes. And he's going to put a stop to it. So we're going to follow him. We need to do this Team Rocket sequence. There's only 4 Team Rocket members that we have to defeat. But we need to do that in order to open up the second gym. So we kind of have to go there. In the meantime, we're going to buy a few items here. We're going to buy 4 Super Potions. We're going to buy an Escape Rope, 3 Repels, and 3 Antidotes. We probably don't need that many Antidotes, but we might, so might as well have them along. Now, as we get to the well, it looks like Kurt kind of fell on the way down, and he sprained his ankle, and now he's having a hard time walk, so he's going to let us do all the hard work here. Going to use the last potion, and then we're off to the first fight. The first trainer here has 2 Rattatas. Both of them go down in 2 hits, but both of them have Quick Attack. Every time we get Quick Attacked on a turn where we would have killed, we lose about 2 seconds. So let's see how this fight is going to go down. So this first Quick Attack doesn't really matter. It's actually kind of better that he does that, because usually he would go for Tail Whip, and now he doesn't get one off. And he didn't use Quick Attack on the second turn as a result, meaning that we save 2 seconds there as a result. They usually do it on the second turn, so the fewer we see it, the better. So this rag starts off with Tackle, goes for the Quick Attack, so we lose the 2 seconds on the second one. That's still better than average, though. Now, the next 2 trainers, I would ideally still have the Bitterberry for, but since I don't, I'm going to play it safe and make a safety save for the first one. These fights almost always are just fine, even if you don't have it, but I've had runs where they become a problem, and since I don't have the Bitterberry and there's 2 back-to-back fights that can become a problem, I'm just going to save before the first one, and then just try and go through them. So the worst thing that he can do is use Supersonic on turn 1 and then hit me. As if he misses, it's completely fine, it doesn't matter. If we crit on turn 1, we usually kill. Leech Life also fine, it doesn't matter at all. So we Water Gun again. That's actually the worst Pokemon of this fight out of the way. The other one here is an Ekans, and the Ekans can't really do anything too bad. The worst thing it could do is poison me and or use Wrap. Those 2 moves are kind of bad, because it'll deal a lot of gradual damage as the fight progresses. Luckily, we didn't get poisoned on the first turn, at least. And we didn't on the second, so we don't even have to heal it either. Good fight. Before the next fight, I am going to use a Super Potion, make sure we're back up to full health. Conveniently, we can actually find one right here. And we have plenty of them anyway. Now the next fight leads off with a Rattata that I can use either Scratch or Water Gun. In both instances, we don't kill unless we crit. It'll look like we're going to get very close, but we don't kill unless we get a critical hit. And the same goes for both of the Zubats after. The advantage of the Zubats coming up is that they're a little bit weaker than the previous ones we fought. They're lower level, so they'll always go down in 2 hits. They do die to a critical hit. And we'll just see how it goes. Like I said, it'll look as if we can just manage to do that, but we can't. We don't ever get the kill there. So the first Zubat is always the most scary one, because Supersonic is still a big problem here. He tried to do it, but he didn't get the 55%, so that's the first one out of the way. If we can get through the second Supersonic, or second Zubat without a Supersonic, we're pretty much safe for the rest of the Slowpoke well. And there we go. Works out like a charm. One trainer left here, and that one's impossible for me to die to at this point. I think even if he crits every single turn and poisons me on the first turn, it's still impossible for him to kill me, so I don't have anything to worry about here. Catillia, there's anything you still want to talk about, or shall I just...
I do have one donation.
Oh, sure.
Okay, we have a €10 donation from Mies saying, Honk, good luck to all the runners today. Hope to see you all on Dutch Comic Con. Honk, greets, Mies.
Honk? So the coughing fight so far going pretty well. He started off with Smock, which can poison me, and that's kind of what would be the worst case scenario, but he didn't do that. Even if we were to get poisoned, it's not really a big deal because we get a free heal after this fight anyway. But the Rocket now defeated. It's we're gonna get a bit of a cutscene here. Kurt is going to check up on the Slowpokes. He can now just walk just fine, as if nothing ever happened. And he heals us, and we're off to the gym. So there's 2 required fights in this gym, though there is a way to change kind of the outcome. There's one spinner at the end. Depending on my level at that point, I may opt to just fight him anyway. But before that, there's 2 other trainers that we have to fight. This is the first one, and depending on whether or not I still have the Bitterberry, I have a decision to make here. If I still have the Bitterberry, it would be slightly better for me to face the right one first, because it'll lead with a Lediba. The problem is Lediba has Supersonic. The advantage is the Spinarak usually uses String Shot or Scary Face, which would slow me down. In this case, that didn't happen, so we actually get a really good fight here. We didn't get slowed down, so it's essentially a perfect fight. And that's the first one out. Now, I can either go to the right or to the left. The right trainer has 2 Pokemon. The left one only has 1. Yet we still go for the right trainer first, because the trainer on the right can't paralyze me. The left trainer has a Paris, which has Stun Spore, which can paralyze you, and paralysis wastes a lot more time than it would to face the second trainer, so we're just going to face this one instead, take the extra Pokemon. And I think it might actually work out experience-wise in such a way that because we hit Bill earlier, we're going to be level 18, and that has a major advantage in that we're going to have Croconaw for the next, or for the gym leader. Quite a big advantage, if I'm being honest. That also means that we should be a level higher than normal for the rival, which means that I'm just not going to have to worry about that anymore. So it kind of works out nicely because of that. I'm already hearing the people in the back calling it. The strat here is very important to not touch the controller while that happens, specifically the B button, because canceling that evolution is kind of nasty. I'm still going to save before this fight. We can't really die anymore. If you evolved before this fight, there's really not any way that this fight is dangerous anymore. But I still like to play it. I still play it rather safe than sorry here. This fight is known to be one of the 2 most difficult fights in this run. The most difficult fight in this run being the one after this. But first, we're gonna face the Metapod here. I'm gonna use that X attack that we picked up earlier to boost my attack a little bit. He's usually just gonna go for Harden, which is actually great for us because now I can just use Rage on the second turn and start building that up as we go. Most of the time he'll use Tackle on the second turn, which is what I was hoping for, but there is the first one anyway. And again, we're just going to build up the power. We want to have Rage at a decent amount of power by the time we get to the Scyther, because the Scyther can actually be kind of dangerous if you haven't built it up. The Scyther that he has Fury Cutter. And Fury Cutter kind of works in the same way as Rage, where it builds up over time. So that extra Poison Sting should now guarantee that we can two-shot the Scyther here. So he leads off with Fury Cutter. But by this point, we deal so much damage that we'll be able to kill him in no time at all. And that is the second gym leader done. At this point, there's only 2 trainers left. So we're actually getting quite close to the end of the game. Well, technically, there are 3 trainers left. And one we are going to fight. But that's literally the kind of fight where blink it and you'll miss it. So it's going to be pretty easy. Anyway, we get the Hive Badge, and more importantly, we get the TM for Fury Cutter. Fury Cutter is the move that we're going to use in order to get past the rival on the next, well, basically the next fight that we're going to do, which is also the most deadly fight in this run. The rival coming up has a Ghastly, which usually isn't a big deal, but more importantly, it has as a second Pokemon a Bayleaf, and Bayleaf has Razor Leaf, which with a crit pretty much kills me immediately. We can technically survive a crit, but then we're in kill range and we can't out-heal him anymore, and it's bad. So we're going to teach Fury Cutter here. It doesn't really matter over which move I teach it. Personally, I like to just teach it over the second move, because that's where you teach it in glitchless. But overall, it doesn't matter at all. We're only going to need it for this upcoming fight here. Gonna save, because like I said, this fight is super dangerous. And here comes the rival fight. Time for the worst fight in this game, in my opinion. Even in the glitchless run, this is notorious for being one of, if not the worst fight in the game. Before the Pokemon community switched to RTA, this would be one of the major run killers. If you die to this fight, you just have to restart your run, which, considering this point is like 40 minutes in, is really painful. So the Ghastly goes down no problem, and here comes the scary one, Bayleaf. Bayleaf can do a few things. It can use Reflect, or Growl, which is ideal. It can use Poison Powder, which is fine, especially if it misses. And it can use Razor Leaf, and it's the last one that really is the scary one. Okay, not a critical, that's good. And we hit the Fury Cutter, so we're through the worst Pokemon. We're not done with the fight yet. There is still the Zubat we have to deal with, but at this point we should be able to get through it no problem. Okay, he goes for Bite, and at that point, we've basically won the fight. So at this point, we're through the worst part of the run. We're just going to make our way through the forest here, get some stuff along the way, and after that, we're going to start setting up for our main glitch. Now, the glitch, since I won't be able to talk through it too much, it consists of a few parts. Essentially, what we're going to do is, using the coin case, we're going to sort of rewrite the code of the game. It's a glitch called arbitrary code execution. So we're going to be typing in a lot of codes in the box names, and we're going to set up the coin case in such a glitch that it uses that bit of naming combined with some things in my party to do 2 things. One, if we want to go to Mount Silver, as close to red as possible, and we found a way to do that about 4 tiles away from red, so that's nice and close. And then secondary, we wanted to remove all of the Pokemon in my party so that we have exactly 0 Pokemon. That might sound a little bit counterintuitive, but the way that it works in Gen 2 is if you have 0 Pokemon in your party, every battle will still trigger, but it'll instantly be over and you instantly win the fight. So by setting it up in such a way that we get to red with 0 Pokemon, we start the fight. And normally he leads like a level 81 Pikachu, but I don't have a Pokemon to send out, so nothing happens. Instead, the fight will literally be over with the Flash. It is therefore literally a case of blink and you'll miss it. So we're going to teach Cut to our main man, Totodile, or Croconaw here. Again, doesn't matter which move I teach it over. I just want to make sure that I don't teach it over Water Gun, because we want to use Water Gun later on for the last regular trainer that we do fight. And then we're just going to walk through the forest here, not really stopping for anything. Earlier, I actually started using the Repel while I was in the building before it, just to set it up so that it would run out exactly in front of the cut bush there, meaning that I could do the entire menu at once.
Do you have a moment for
Yep,
a quick
go
donation?
ahead. Go ahead.
I'm gonna sigh real hard for this one. It's a €7 donation by Satanic Nerd saying, thanks for making me wear the fez. Also, not too hard a tongue twister this time. Just Caraguatatuba with beautiful beaches.
Right. Okay, so we're going to use our last Repel here to get to the town. Now, we picked up Sweet Scent earlier. We're never actually going to teach that to a Pokemon, but rather I have to give that TM to a Pokemon, and that's all got to do with that arbitrary code execution that I mentioned. We also still need to increase our happiness a little bit in order to pick up Return. So, as a result, I'm going to pick up a couple of X items here. I want 7X Specials and 6X Speeds. The reason I want several different ones is because every single time that I use a TM, or sorry, I use an X item, beyond the 6th one, 2 extra text boxes will appear. It's not worth it for me to scroll down further to pick up later ones. The text boxes go by really quickly as it's basically instant text, but it does still come into play a little bit, so having the 2 at the top there kind of works out. And by going for X Speeds instead of X Specials, next to it, I essentially save those text boxes 6 times. So, 12 text boxes. That's actually worth the time save. It's worth the extra effort to take different ones there. So we're gonna make our way through here, get into this place, and this right here is the very last trainer of the game. Which might seem a little bit weird that this guy is the last trainer, but this guy is blocking me from getting the coin case, which is why we need to fight him. He's got 2 Slowpokes, and Slowpokes generally aren't too problematic a Pokemon. We should have enough health to not have to worry about it. If need be, I have Super Potions, and we're just going to start setting up. I mean, it is the last regular trainer that we fight, so he must be difficult, right? The result of setting up as many X items as we do is by the end of the fight, we'll have 4 times the usual amount of special and 4 times the usual amount of attack. Speed, I mean. And as a result, Water Gun will actually be able to one-shot it very easily. Now, they can do 2 damage. I think they deal at most 5 if they go or if they get a critical hit. 4 or 5, so it's really not much to worry about. If he does growl often enough, I don't even have to heal. If he decides not to growl at some point and keeps spamming tackle, then I may have to use the super. But we still have 17 HP, so still good. There's another growl. Great. I actually like seeing growl here because it means that I probably don't have to heal. Last X speed. So at this point, our happiness should be high enough that we can actually get the TM for return. So there, Water Gun. It's not even very effective, but it still kills it just because of how much extra power we have because of the X specials. And then we're going to pick up the coin case, get the TM for return, and that's when we're going to start the really technical part of this run. So that's where I'm going to need to actually focus. Now, before we get there, I will mention right now there is about a 30-ish% chance that the glitch won't work. There is a backup, which again has about a 30% chance not to work. So we have 2 attempts before we really have to try anything new. I think we even might be able to get a 3rd one if I set it up correctly. So we have up to 3 attempts to get a 2 in 3 chance. So the odds of it failing are really low, but it is technically possible. If that happens, I can do a backup where I catch an extra Pokemon and then use that, which again has a 2 in 3 chance to work. So essentially, we're aiming for a 67-ish% chance. And we have several chances, but if we keep failing it over and over, there is a chance that it just won't work. The chance exists. It's really unlikely. It's never happened to me in a marathon run before, but I figured I should mention it at least before we get started here. So this is where I'm gonna put in box codes. I'm gonna get my list of box codes up real quick, and here we go. So this is where I really need to start focusing. So we need to name most of these boxes, and they're really awkward names to type out. So this is, in my opinion, the worst one to type out. This one's really awkward in terms of how you move through the menu. It's also the only one that's not the full length of characters, but it looks correct like that. Now the last code we are going to do a little bit different from how you would normally do it, because if you use the fastest possible code, the game will crash halfway through the credits, and I kind of just want to have the credits play the normal way. So it's going to take me a little bit longer to do this last one as a result, but it gets us to actually see the credits rather than it crashing halfway through. Yep, that looks good. So now for the next part of this menu, gonna make sure that I do everything here correctly, because this is really where one mistake can lose you the run, which is why I'm taking that safety save. I want to make sure that that doesn't happen. So first off, we're gonna teach return to Wooper. Then we're going to use Sweet Scent, but we're going to give it to Wooper. We're going to swap Wooper and Kenya, because I need Wooper to be in the last slot. We need to do some changing of move order, so that return is our first move. Okay, this is where that 2 in 3 chance is going to happen. If we succeed at it, time will be coming up momentarily. So we're going to open up the Pokédex, and we're going to show Bellsprout real quick. It's a cool Pokemon, so there we go. We're going to use the coin case. And that means that we got the 1 in 3. So we're going to try it again, but the colors will look a little bit weird. This happens when you don't get it. But yeah, this is fine. Just going to try again. No biggie. Okay. Yeah, I know. We're getting rather unlucky with this. You can see that we're kind of starting to tear the game apart, but it's not exactly doing what I want it to do. Okay, we did get it. Croconaw worked. So get ready on the clock. So this is Mount Silver. No, I didn't. That was a random encounter. This is red. That was red. And time. So the credits are a little bit glitched because it didn't work for the first 2 times, but this is fine, right? This is how you beat Pokemon Gold. So yeah, that was Pokemon Gold, any percent, no save corruption. Now, I think I'm just going to hand it over to the next runner, which I believe is someone. So yeah, that was it for me for now. I heard I might be back later with Pokemon Blue. We'll see if that's needed or not. We'll see. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me, and have fun with the next run.
Thank you very much for that run, Crrool. We're gonna be going into a quick setup, accompanied by some ads. Next run will be The Legend of Dark Witch Episode 2, The Price of Desire, by certainly someone here. So we'll see you guys right back.